the mayor forgot his password, and Apple's latest AI model. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by the MacVoices Slack. Discussions, questions, and answers, and a place to talk tech with your friends. The MacVoices Slack is available to all patrons of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices and join in. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. It's Tuesday night, so that means this is MacVoices Live. We are live on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We'd love to have you be one of the people piling into the chat room right now to join us and share their thoughts and watch this thing that we call a show on Tuesday nights. Sometimes that is a very loose definition. Number of things to talk about tonight, as always. So we're just going to get right to it. But first, we're going to find out who's here to get to it. Dave Ginsburg is in the top left of my screen, as always. Dave, good to see you with a brand new microphone.
Yes, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. You influenced me to get a Shure MV7 Plus, and it does sound pretty good. I'm very impressed with it so far. This is the first podcast I've done with it tonight. So,
okay, great. Well, the inaugural podcast. Yeah, I haven't talked too much about it, but I've really been happy with this mic. So it's definitely worth looking into if you do podcasts, or if you just want a really nice mic that has a lot of software controls to it to prevent you from having to buy extra hardware. Marty Jencius is here as well. Marty, good to have you.
This is the highlight of my day. Are we supposed to identify by the microphones we're using?
Well, if you feel the need, sure.
I'm using a Heil PR40.
Oh, wow.
Look at you.
And
nice mic.
Yeah. It's a fun mic. When I remember to turn it on, that's the problem when I podcast and I forget to turn this microphone on. As Eric will attest from last night.
Did something go wrong, Marty?
Yeah, something went wrong. We will now do our 25th episode next Monday instead of last night. So,
well, I'm sorry, because we've all had those issues. It's even worse when you get to the recording and realize that you were on the wrong mic the whole time.
Oh yeah.
But it happens. It happens. Also, his partner in crime, who will be doing the 25th episode of their show next week, Mr. Eric Bolden. Eric, good to have you.
Hi, it's good to be here.
You want to identify your mic?
I think he has a Shure. Sure. That's what he brought to MacStock.
MV7X.
Oh, okay. 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 So
same family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I picked it because I don't have to do anything to it. I think there's software, but I never figured out how to install it. I just plug it in and it kind of worked.
That's all you need to know.
As far as I'm going to get.
Yeah.
So
that's good. You'd rather be chasing flying animals, apparently.
Yeah. So tonight up here we have a turkey vulture. Flying above a flag above a grain drying silo.
Okay.
Yeah. It was different.
I don't know enough about turkey vultures other than that they call them turkey vultures. So,
and they're big.
They're
wings way out.
Huge wingspans.
Really cool unless you see a whole lot of them directly above you. And then you have to wonder. That's when you check your water supplies, make sure you have fuel and a way to get out of wherever you are standing.
Oh boy. Okay, on that positive note, thank you for sharing that, Eric.
I made it here, so success.
Yeah. Well, there's only one above you, so I guess that's good. That's good. Jim Ray is here. This time with a white T-shirt on. He looks pure.
Do you remember these guys?
Sure.
Mac Memory. I dug this out of the bottom of my drawer from the 90s.
Wow.
Very nice.
Back when Mac Memory was in megabytes instead of gigabytes, I think.
Good times.
Yeah. I think we all probably have a time machine's worth of T-shirts somewhere. I know I keep pulling things out, and it's like this company has been gone for, well, maybe not decades, but a long time.
Since the Reagan administration.
No, I think this goes back to the Clinton administration.
Okay, so not quite as far. Not quite as far. Joining us for only a brief time tonight, or maybe not brief, but an abbreviated time tonight, Mr. Jeff Gamet. Jeff, it's good to have you.
It's always a treat to get to hang out with you, and just so you know, because I can, when I bow to the show tonight, I'm stealing Dave and taking him with me, and there's nothing you can do to stop me.
Going?
I didn't know that. Nobody told me that.
Oh well, surprise!
Hey, I got to return the favor. He did one with me. Now I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All
so,
right.
Mac and Tech will get both of us tonight.
Okay. Well, their gain is our loss. Please tell them hello and tell them to stop scheduling their meetings on MacVoices live nights.
I will let them know. And Road Podcaster.
Yes, Road Podcaster. Last but absolutely not least, Mr. Mark Fuccio, this time with, I'm not sure what that background is, Mark. You're going to have to explain that one.
It's kind of inspired by, sort of our stories, our older stories, but very interesting. So, it's just people looking at older newspapers.
Well, that was the first thing that struck me is what's that guy holding? Oh, that's a newspaper. Yes, I have seen one of those for
yes. Yeah, and I also have a Rode Podcaster.
Ah, okay. All right, so yeah.
So I want to commend Jeff on his excellent taste.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Jim, did you tell us your mic? I don't think you did.
No, but he asked me.
I'm sorry. Well, we were too enamored with your
Hey,
T-shirt.
Jim, even though Chuck doesn't care, I do. And I'd love to know what microphone you're using.
It is called an AirPod Max.
Oh, that's right. I forget you have the AirPods Max and you're using those as your mic.
Well, you can see them.
Yeah, but I forget that they're using them as a mic. Yeah, so folks, if you've been on the bubble of acquiring the AirPods Max, now you know how good they can sound.
And, that's what I got them for, Zoom calls, and it's mostly the only thing I use them for. But I'd say I've gotten my money's worth.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, we have a number of fun things this evening. So let's just get to the first one that has echoes of the past. Indicted New York City Mayor Adams tells investigators, "Sorry, I forgot my iPhone's passcode." I just kind of had to bring this up. I just didn't have a choice. I mean, I don't know Mayor Adams. I don't have any strong feelings about him because I am not a New York resident. But any way you take it, that's pretty lame.
Now, Chuck, remembering 4 or 6 digits, or remembering to put your face in front of the camera. I mean, these are really difficult things, so thoughts and prayers.
This feels like the dog ate my homework.
I hadn't thought about that comparison. That's an interesting one.
Oh, I have. I can take that even one notch higher.
Oh, please.
So, after the presidential debate, there was a cartoon of a little kid going to the teacher saying, the dog ate my homework, and then an immigrant ate my dog.
I got to say, on the scale of lame things politicians say, this is not very far up there.
I don't know. It just seems so convenient. and again, I have no dog in this fight. So but it's just like, really? I mean, that's the reason that you can't.
Well, actually, I have a different take on it entirely, which is that,
okay.
He's afraid that there's potentially incriminating evidence on it, and he doesn't. He knows that there have been cases that you can't force people to unlock their phone because it's construed as violating your Fifth Amendment right and testifying against yourself. So I think that's what he's doing here. It sounds lame, and everyone's going to laugh. Ha ha ha! What a stupid guy! But I think he's very very clever in what he's doing, and obviously he doesn't have face Face ID enabled. So whatever secrets are on the phone seem to be protected for quite a while.
I like the backstory on it. I just wanted to protect this from my staff because apparently the staff knew how to get into his phone or whatever. He said, so I came up with a new passcode and I promptly forgot it.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah.
I think that went out a long time ago. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just as good as it ever was. But I don't know.
Well, the trick here is, how do you prove that he hasn't forgotten the passcode?
You can't.
No.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Well,
it's the perfect crime.
No, I mean, you can. All it takes is a baseball bat. And it's amazing how quickly someone's memory comes back. But of course, that's completely inappropriate, and so that's
also
not going to happen. And also Jeff, a crime.
Oh, but waterboarding is totally legal as long as you do it someplace outside the U.S. So, he should make sure he doesn't, take a vacation or take another flight back on Turkish Airlines to somewhere international.
Mm-hmm.
Or go get on a boat anywhere near Florida right at the moment. You might be waterboarded, whether you like it or not.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Took a minute. The next one, is really interesting. You almost have to go to the article and see. But Apple releases Depth Pro, an AI model that rewrites the rules of 3D vision. And I have no idea why I bothered to look at this article. The more I read it and the more I looked at the examples, the more I came to appreciate just how impressive this is. And then it occurred to me that we see Apple has now released a couple AI models that I'm not going to say they seem inconsequential, but they're very focused on something in particular, such as this one. And, we've talked about how Apple has been using some version of AI for a long time to accomplish the things that past versions of the OSs, especially iOS, offer, including, as a matter of fact, tonight it occurred to me that someone was leaving a message for me. I was able to watch the live transcription. Okay, well, where did that come from? That came from AI, whether you want to call it that or whether you want to use the title live transcription or whatever. So this all took me to the point that I'm thinking, okay, everyone's talking about how far behind Apple is in AI. Are they really? Or have they just not chosen to tip their cards yet? Or am I just extrapolating too much?
Apple is not behind in AI. But that doesn't matter because everyone thinks they are. Where Apple is behind, if you will, is LLM, generative content, having lots of generative content spread across all of their apps. And you can argue if that's a good thing or a bad thing. That's not the path Apple has gone down. But Apple has been using the machine learning AI technologies that they've been developing for a long time, You remember when Apple first showed off in Photos the ability for it to identify people and let you make little groups of your friends or family members automatically? There you go. That's Apple had some name for it, and they alluded to machine learning, but based on the types of technologies other companies are doing, AI. Anyhow, they have been doing stuff in the AI space where it's wonderfully transparent for us as users for a long time. And so, no, I don't think Apple's behind. Their voice assistant technology sucks rocks. But to be fair, so does everyone else's. So, if you suck as much as everyone else does in a specific part of the market, does that make you behind or just on par with the state of the technology? But no, Apple is not behind. And they are doing innovative things and have been doing innovative things in the space for quite a while. And this article that you found for Depth Pro, that's yet another example of Apple leading the way in user transparent use of AI and ML technology.
Jeff, I'm glad you brought up the photos part, because you're right. And later this week, I'll be releasing an interview with Jason Snell, who just updated his Take Control of Photos to version 4. And we specifically talk about some of what the Photos app through machine learning, through AI, called what you will, what it can do and how much better it's gotten. And it's unfortunate that it's not getting as much publicity as it probably should, because it's something that we all can and should use, or would at least benefit us. So check that out. Little shameless plug there.
Cool.
Marty?
Cool. Yeah, I stood in line today for an hour and a half in order to vote. Early voting started, and so I had plenty of time to get through articles. And you got to get down into this article a little further. And what you find is the impact that it has on potential depth perception and monocular depth perception. So, I have a wife who has macular degeneration in one eye. She's fighting it in the other eye. But I think of people who have monocular vision and the opportunity to have better depth perception with this type of technology. So sort of what Apple did with AirPods and hearing aids, this, I think, has the potential for what it can do for vision and folks who have different types of vision impairment. And we could have seen this coming. They always show that accordion picture of all the different types of photos that are taken when you take one snapshot with an iPhone. And this blends right into it.
Yeah.
I don't see what this has to do with people that have monocular vision. This is taking still photographs and it's extracting depth information. Like, it looks like equivalent to if you had a LiDAR camera, is what my take on it is.
I can't comment. I don't know enough about it.
Well, I'm just going by, reading it. I also I'm wondering how great Apple thinks this is, because they've made it open source. They don't usually do that for stuff that they think is a big deal.
I guess, one man's.
That sounds more like, we don't know what to do with this. You go play with it.
Well,
which,
Mark?
it's fine, but
well, okay. What about WebKit?
WebKit.
Yeah, Apple created WebKit and open sourced it.
Well, they didn't create WebKit. They forked an existing open source project.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
HTML. And I think they had no choice. They were desperately behind. So they found something and, adapted.
I totally forgot about KHTML.
Jim, just looking at this, and I'm quoting from the article, the technology detailed in a research paper entitled Depth Pro, Sharp Monocular Metric Depth in Less Than a Second, is a major leap forward in the field of monocular depth estimation, a process that uses just one image to infer depth. So that's as much as I know about it, but if it is something that is taking an image and does something to it that would make you believe that it has some depth to it, if you're in a monocular vision situation.
No, it's saying it generates high quality real time depth maps from a single image. So, you can't feed a depth map into your eye, but you could perhaps, feed it into a robot or something like that,
or a Vision Pro. Or a Vision Pro.
Yeah.
No, because look, you can look at the stuff that there. Maybe it's on the GitHub page. Yeah, look on the GitHub page, and they're making these things that sort of they're not something to look at. I think this is a way to do something that's LiDAR-like, but potentially much more, without special hardware of LiDAR, if it really works.
I don't know. I mean, it's worth, again, reading the article, but also definitely looking at the images to help you understand what it's doing. It doesn't get into a whole lot of use cases except to infer that the metric depth is a big deal, I guess, when it comes to certain.
If you click on the link to the GitHub page, they show 3 images, and then they show what the depth maps look like. So they certainly don't look like 3D images. They just have color gradations to show how close or far away things are. So, maybe you could use this, for example, to decide, here's an object that's close, and we could crop it out, for example, or we could use a robot arm and, know how far the thing is to grab it, that sort of stuff. Which, I mean, if they can take a still picture and do what LiDAR does, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and if you have a robot arm that you want to have that robot arm grab something, yeah,
although,
that's pretty important.
I'm saying that it's not real time either. So they're saying it's really fast, and then they're saying 0.3 seconds per image. Well, that's maybe not certainly not like driving. That's 3 a second. But
yeah, but
when LiDAR costs a lot of money, we'll see. I mean, this is cool. I mean, it's neat that you brought it up. It doesn't sound like something that's going to have a big impact right away, but who knows what it'll be down the road.
Yeah. Mark?
Yeah, I have a number of thoughts. I think the first thing is I don't think everyone should get their underpants in a knot about this not being a product, because it's not. And we can debate about, it could be used for that or it could be used for this other thing. But I think really, what Apple is doing is they made a contribution to the open source community. And I've had 2 points about that. One is that, that seems to be an emerging trend. If you look, the folks at Meta, they seem to be releasing a lot in open source where it's good for advancing the overall state of the art and is not key to something mission critical or product critical that they're doing, which was Jim Ray's opening point. The other thing is, it would be really nice to know which part of Apple this came out of. If this came out of their discontinued, refocused the automotive division, then yeah, it's cool technology that maybe Apple doesn't have any use for. But I think speculating on how Apple will use it, there's all sorts of ways to do it.
Interestingly, the article credits it to Apple's AI research team. That's a clickable link in the article, which clicks to machinelearning.apple.com, and clicking on it gives you application error, a client-side exception has occurred.
I went through the things, and I downloaded the PDF, and again, it's wonderfully vague. It's not really specific. But I think the more important point is that also I think there seems to be a trend among a lot of leading edge AI researchers to want to put make contributions and get papers published. So maybe that's something they're having to do here to motivate or keep key members on their team.
Yeah. I wanted to address this because it sort of can potentially feed into our next story. Barry in the chat room asks, is this the technology Apple uses to convert a 2D photo into a 3D image for spatial viewing on Apple Vision Pro?
Probably
Marty,
not.
Eric? I would think not, but do you all have any wisdom?
I don't know on that. You can see the similarities in terms of what's produced from that. Eric?
Yeah, there's not really a good way to speculate, but it does give some code and some examples for people who want to play with something similar. And there's certainly enough robotics projects of, trying to avoid an object or grab an object that, I could see some kind of neat projects, and maybe there'll be a student project that comes out next year in May.
This is the code in here is Python. So
yes,
this feels very researcher-y to me, and not not something directed at something production.
Jim, I beg to differ. I mean, a lot of the LLM and other work is done in Python, and it seems that sort of where the proprietary magic comes in is companies like NVIDIA with their CUDA library, they accelerate on the GPUs a lot of the Python libraries. So Python is the language of choice in that community
for research, but I don't think Apple's going to use it in production.
Yeah, I expect it to be Swift.
I saw that and I figure, okay, this is who knows what Apple is thinking. I mean, we all have different ideas about their past behavior, but what it means for the future, I think we're just speculating.
Yeah. It is, however, the perfect project if you want some students to play with it.
Yeah.
And look,
cool.
all the technology
will do some cool things.
Yeah, and all the technology we use now has had to start somewhere, researched, under some certain circumstances. So, interesting to see where this goes. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.